far more than what's on the slide, although I would quickly say that there is an awful lot that was praised in the report. But given the nature of the discussion tonight, some of the items that I think apply to the question are very specifically, NEASC told us that we must address the problem of too many students in science classes. There are lab situations that are just too crowded, or access to laboratories is limited because of large numbers of students electing to take lab sciences. NEASC very specifically told us that we must increase staffing levels in order to reduce class size. And again, I'm quoting from the report. And also to limit class size in order to ensure personalized student learning. So I think in summary, for my answer, 30 students in a class or more than 30 students in a class is just, it's really not the best case situation, and it should be better.
Thank you, John. Dick.
At the middle school, we have approximately an average of 25 to 30 students in our classes. Our average class size has gone up significantly in the last few years. If you take a look at the slide, the average class size that's reflected from 25 to 30 usually is in the four majors of language arts, social studies, math, and science. The general arts classes, their class size through the scheduling process could be at 30 or above. Now, just a practical side of this, we have 30 computers in a computer class. When we start scheduling students for 32, 33, 34, then now we have a situation where we have someone on the computer who is actually engaged in what's going on in class, and then we have someone sitting beside them watching. I don't think that's the best form of pedagogy, and I don't think that's the best form of active learning as far as the students are concerned. Another practical piece of this for those teachers who do an awful lot in the area of writing assessments, I think you'll find, particularly in language arts and social studies, there's an increased burden with the more students in those classes. The question is, how many writing samples can I continue to assess on a daily basis? And that's actually something that we are really committed to.
Thank you, Dick. The second question also deals with class size, and this time we're going to talk about the elementary school class size. And as Dr. Troughton already pointed out, over the last 2 years, we've decreased the number of classroom teachers at the elementary school level. And I'm asking, directed to, again, the elementary school principals, what has been the impact on learning in the elementary classrooms? And I'm going to start with Bill Lassise, the principal of the little school. Bill?
Certainly, classes bring their own personality with them. You could have a class of 25 or 26 boys and girls who are not only a pleasure, but don't present a whole lot of challenges. It's just how it falls, and there can be a class of 18 with a lot of challenges and special needs in the classroom. And by special needs, I mean not necessarily students and IEPs, but just whether it's developmental or behavioral or management or learning issues. We had I'm speaking generally for the elementary principals, and feel free to chime in. Something specifically at Little was we had 4 sections of first grade a couple years back. That resulted in student-teacher ratios of 18:1. That section was reduced a couple years back, and now that class is in second grade, and that's the class I'm asking for an additional section of next year because they're 24 and 25:1. And that doesn't include the integration of children who are in a special needs class who are integrated for some subjects. As a former classroom teacher, as all of us are, I would just have to say that depending on, I've had classes and taught classes of 16, and I've had classes of 27. And I think what makes the difference is the amount of time you have for each individual child, the time that you have to be able to remediate or provide extra practice, or especially in the primary grades, give children the individual attention that they need. Also, there's our report cards have changed and the assessment techniques we use have changed. It takes a great deal of time to assess children, and often that's in small groups or one-on-one conferencing. I'm concerned about the areas of writing and the types of writing experiences that teachers can offer children in larger classes, as well as our math program, which is a very interactive, hands-on concrete program. And with the elimination of our Title I program, because we lost the grant, because we didn't qualify because of the number of, it has to do with numbers of free lunches and needy children that way, nothing to do with not filling out the grant correctly. Those also present challenges for classroom teachers. So it's incumbent upon teachers to plan differently for a larger class. There's more direct instruction, more teaching at children, and less opportunities for children to what I would call experiential or experiencing things in the concrete matter, and it becomes more abstract.
Thank you,
So I
Bill.
would like that restored.
The same question to Sean Colleen, the principal at the Batchelder. Sean?
At the bachelor school, actually as an administrator, when you start the budget process, you start thinking about your staffing requests and personal. And when we took the themes of the cuts, compliance, and competencies, it actually made my job relatively easy as following. Last year, the bachelor school was consolidated in actually 3 grade levels, which using school committee benchmarks or recommended class size issues, going back and looking at my class size, over 50% of the classrooms at the bachelor school exceed those recommended procedures, where especially in our current grade 3 and 4, our class sizes have dramatically increased. And when you talk about the budget and the cut and the competencies and the impact and maintaining the level of services while the students of those classrooms and the families of that classrooms are accustomed to their class sizes of 18, 19, and 20, and then entering this current year, all of a sudden they're entering class sizes of 25 plus up to 27 in third grade classrooms. So as Mr. Lassise noted, what happens when the impact on the students truly is the instruction methods. You cannot manage a classroom of 25 to 27 the same that you manage a classroom of 18. You cannot achieve the goals that you might have been able to in that classroom, and the teachers are working diligently to make sure they do that through all of the objectives that Mr. Lassise noted in the content area and the report card and the assessment and the portfolios. They find that very challenging as well. So it has a great impact on the students.
Thank you, Sean. And the same question to Thea, who's the principal at the Hood School.
I think we have to pay attention also to teacher morale being affected by having to manage a large group of students. Students are more easily distracted, the noise level's higher, and I think the common theme that we're all hearing is that the quality of instruction is compromised with a larger group of students. The types of learning activities that are offered are structured differently. Active engagement in learning is compromised, and it's just, with smaller numbers, there's greater individual attention, there's flexibility in curriculum, flexibility in instructional methodology, and closer student-teacher collaboration.
Thank you, Thea. Mr. Lassise?
Just one other point, Jerry. I do think that often parents ask us, what are we doing for the more able learner, or how are we extending curriculum? And certainly with larger class size, and the larger the class size, the broader the needs of the class, and there's just not enough time to be able to, for a teacher to be able to perhaps extend the curriculum horizontally for our children who are, more able.
Thank you, Bill. I'd just point out, too, that Sean had mentioned the school committee goals as far as class size, and pretty much we've adopted a goal that for grades K, 1, and 2, we would like to see the class not exceed 20 students, and for grades 2, 3, and 4 not exceed 22 students. And quite frankly, we haven't been that successful the last couple of years, that a lot of the elementary school class sizes have exceeded those numbers. So, Christine?
Yeah, I'd like to add that when you're also considering special needs students, that as you increase class size, the availability of the teacher to provide accommodations and modifications, which they are required to do by law, is severely impacted by the number of students in the class. And we're mandated to do these things so that if the class size increases, what it tends to do is push more children into special education services outside the general education classroom, which is a violation of their rights.
Thank you, Christine. The third question, the next question, is directed to John Bernard, the principal at the high school. We've already heard him mention, and Dr. Troughton mentioned, the high school accreditation report. And the question, John, is how will your personnel request address the recommendations that were made in that report?
The personnel requests that I submitted for this fiscal year coming up, to a large degree, are aimed at addressing the recommendations of the accreditation report for a couple of reasons. The first one would be that is the reduction of class size that currently exists at the high school, and also to address the increased enrollment that we're anticipating when the class of 2004 graduates and the 8th graders become 9th graders. There's an increase in enrollment that we're expecting. So there's the need for increasing staff for that reason as well. Beyond those two, some of what I mentioned in my response to the first question about specifically science laboratory situations, additional staff in science would help to alleviate that problem. Special education staff increase would help to provide those students with special needs a greater level of services than they may get if the ratio were to be cut down or stay where it exists now. But the class size issue is certainly a concern. Maximizing student competency, that is always a concern. We want to make sure that students are able to do the best that they possibly can. The guidance issue is something that's been highlighted in the accreditation report. The New England Association of Schools and Colleges recommends that there be one guidance counselor for every 300 students in the school. Our current enrollment is 654 students, and it's expected to go up next year. So, again, the ratio there is not where it should be under the NEASC's recommendations. So, elective offerings are things that we're hoping to increase and provide students with a greater opportunity to enroll in electives, and that would be addressed through the personnel requests that I've submitted.
Thank you, John. And again, anybody that's interested in the accreditation report, it's available. You can pick it up. I'm sure you can get a copy at the superintendent's office. But the report that was just recently completed and submitted was extremely favorable, with high praise for the staff at the high school. But the criticism in the report, quite frankly, was the class size, the lack of personnel, and in particular the facility itself that needs some improvements. But other than that, it was extremely, extremely favorable. So. Next question we're going to direct to Dick Hodges, the principal at the middle school. Dick, there's going to be approximately 40 additional students at the middle school next year. And what are the implications if you do not hire or add staff to the middle school next year?
This is one of the most difficult ones to explain because it involves scheduling. And if you've had some experience in scheduling, you might follow this a little more easily. So I'll try to take this opportunity to go through this as succinctly as I possibly can. The slide that should be in front of you has an A, B, C, D, E, F schedule. We have a 6-period day. We average around 48 to 50 minutes per block. And let's imagine that we're in a 7th grade science class. I put science. Take a look at the Tuesday slot. This year we have asked all of a particular team to take a group of kids and in 4 periods, 1, 2, 3, 4, teach their science classes. The other team, also on the 7th grade, have been asked to do the exact same thing. So there is a collection, and if you went back to the slide, it actually was the second slide, there's approximately 214 kids as of January 13. And I don't see that these numbers are going to be diminishing. In fact, last year's number for our 1st grade was 258 students. I believe it's the largest class that North Reading has ever seen. So this is something that's not going to be going away. In fact, our 8th grade class of 194 is probably the smallest class that we will see for a number of years at the middle school. So all of those numbers are divided into 4 classes of science, and the teacher also is responsible for an academic support and, by contract, a planning period. That takes up the 6 days. Now, the reason I needed to tell you that is so that you understand what we're going to do with 40 more children. Figuring, instead of adding new staff, if I ask that same staff to teach 5 academic classes and eliminate, if you look at Wednesday, if I ask them to eliminate their role in the academic support. Our academic support has some similarities to the power block at the high school. We are now going to